Mary, I think we have your team here, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Well, hi, everyone. I know we're, looks like Olivia's still trying to get on. For whatever reason, we tend to have our computers take a little bit longer with Zoom these days. So I do apologize for the delay. And I know we probably want to jump in, but it is nice to see everyone, and hopefully you've had a chance to have a little bit of a break. So with that, going back and looking at our last time we met was the end of May, and looking at what I believe we have on the agenda today. So let's start there, is a response from you all. Financials, we have House Bill 2016 language. And then we have a new piece that we'll need to talk about, which was passed in the legislation, this last piece about Juneteenth. And so I want to make sure we address that as well. Does that sound, was there anything I was missing in regards to the agenda?
Well, we went back and checked our notes as well. I think that's pretty close. I think in the first piece we had that you wanted to see the financials, the final budget numbers from the bargaining session, or sorry, not the bargaining session, the session with the state. You know, the 9.3 they came up with, that came up from the 9 the governor wanted, and you wanted to look at some of that before you wanted to talk anymore about financials. It's kind of how we have it kind of written in our notes, meaning that you were still at that 2% and you didn't want to have to say, hey, we're going to give you this and not know what the funding was going to be, right? So so we kind of have you coming back on that piece, but the rest of it sounds right. And we can talk about that first piece collectively too. Did everybody make it?
Yeah. Do you want us to do a little intro and then pull back up our proposal, or?
Yeah, why don't we do a refresh then on that?
Okay. So Hobie, you have the paperwork that we just went over. So I'll pass it to you for now.
All right. So I think our proposal is largely what you've seen in the past, because we were waiting on that information from the state on the final funding numbers. But there is a couple things on here, a couple points that you made that we agreed with. So the yellow here, I believe, is that even though this is a package deal, I believe these are things that we've agreed to in concept, at least. Having the meeting, or having the 50 cents for the shift differential up top here, and then having the joint meeting about the coaches stuff. I believe that both sides have agreed to that, at least in principle, if not specifically. But I know it's a bundle deal, so it's all together. We highlighted this in blue because our notes reflected that you know, this is language that's fine for a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, but it's not something that you're interested in putting into the actual contract. And so we had some discussion and said if we just wanted to put together a COVID MOU dealing with, sorry, I should say a pandemic MOU, we could be open to that, as you stated before, and have that as a standalone MOU. And then that, if we agreed to that, that would remove it from this bargaining process and just put it into the MOU ranks. And then my understanding is the House Bill 26 language, you guys might be interested in doing like a smaller work group on that, like we did before, to finish it up. And after talking to our side, we're agreeable to that piece as well. So we could, that's why it's highlighted in blue also. Hopefully we can pull that out of this bundle, and then that'll be something we work on over there. This part hasn't changed up here. The stuff that's not highlighted green is language that we're waiting for responses on. You've given us a response on this at 2%, but I know we were kind of loggerheads until we had more information from the state. So I suppose we'll have that discussion today. The insurance piece, I don't think you guys have officially responded to that. My guess is you're probably not interested, but that's why it's on there and not highlighted or anything. And then the PERS redirect is the only other piece left down here from the old schedule. And we haven't got really anything from you guys on that either. My suspicion is that you're not super eager to agree to what we have there. But that's the topics that we have still to discuss if it makes sense to put this in an MOU here.
So just to clarify, I think on when we met on May 3rd, our proposal was 2.5%. You keep mentioning 2, and I just want to clarify that it was 2.5 at that point in time. That's what we have in our notes.
Okay.
So just to clarify that piece.
I appreciate that.
Recognizing that the understanding the insurance proposal, we were also trying to put the dollars into the salary component. So I do feel like we responded to that in such a way to say the 2.5 allows folks to spend those dollars how they see fit. So that's the only iteration of what I heard you say that I think I needed to clarify.
Okay, and just to be extra clear, you're saying that you believe that this here, you're not interested in doing this because you've moved the money up to here in their wages.
No, isn't there another insurance piece down below?
There's a
think
PERS
for
piece.
clarification, it's 2 parts. So the PERS piece, we weren't interested because we were putting the money in the salary.
Ah, I'm with
Right.
you now.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's where we put that. And then
Gotcha.
as far as the insurance piece, knowing based on your pool insurance reserves, the allocations, that's already taken care of the 6.5 hours piece. So where I think we are still in discussion is the actual increase to wages. So our percentage versus your flat dollar.
Okay.
The pandemic language, I think because we're not interested in putting any hard language in the contract, but definitely open to a conversation, and then recognizing what we'd agree we could put in an MOA. And just for clarity, I'm not saying your specific language is what I'd want to put in an MOA.
Sure.
I'd like to have conversation.
Right.
And then the House Bill 2016, I know we've been doing small group. And so if that is doable, I think we can continue to work through that. And we're fairly close, just I think need to kind of revisit it and hopefully be able to wrap that part up soon as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. Why don't, if it's acceptable to the district, why don't we move this language to the same small group? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's fine, but I would almost want to have 2 separate meetings because I think there's other conversation that may need to happen as we're waiting to hear more from ODE on any other things as far as starting school back. And it feels like rather than small conversations, let's try and do it all together there.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, we could move it to its own little work group. Okay, I think we can live with that. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn over to Mary for a second here.
Yeah, I just have a question. We've gone through all our notes and nowhere do we see a 2.5 that was offered. We see a 2% that was brought up as PERS, but we don't have it anywhere. I don't know where that came from.
Well, I think Ryan said that he had jotted down that it was May 3rd that they had
I know,
brought that up.
I mean, we're looking at our notes from May 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll go to May 24th.
Oh, it was May 24th.
Okay.
That's where we've.
I mean, I don't see it anywhere in any of my notes, but okay.
So May 24th, Ryan, is what you're saying is that to address the PERS piece, you took the 0.5 and moved it up to the wages, correct?
So our last offer was a 2.5%, and not making changes to those other areas.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to be
Thank you. We got that jotted now. So.
Okay.
So I guess a couple things from our ends. The governor was set on that 9 billion. We ended up being 9.3, as you guys are aware. So I know we were hoping for 9.6 just to give us plenty of operating space, but they kind of split the difference with us. And then the ESSER 3 money is also a little bit of good news there. They put out an initial, this is what the districts are getting, and I don't recall yours off the top of my head, but they went through and did a recalculation, and actually all the districts are getting more now. So that's nice too. So that's a little helpful. And I guess since we're talking about finances at the moment, you guys have seen the numbers now. Is your opinion that this changes anything for your offer, or are you still where we were talking, the 2.5%?
So we thought, like Jennifer said earlier, that we thought that you were coming back with a counter. So that's where we thought we were, which means that what I would suggest is that we're going to need to take a little time to caucus, understanding that. One of my questions is, so one of the sort of an estimate of where that 2% raise would be. It's like around, Olivia, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's around about a 13% raise. And right
The
now,
$2 you mean?
the $2, yes.
Yeah, for people at the bottom, it's probably closer to that. Typically, how it works out is your 13% is at the bottom, your 5%, 6% is in the middle, and then your top is like between 2 and 4%, depending on what they make. That's usually how it works, kind of, because since you're doing a flat rate versus a specific percentage.
I don't think it's 2% at the high end, but so anyhow, so on average, it's about it's almost 11%, and so right now we're at 2.5. We know that with the increase from the legislature, or the final budget, it's about approximately $1 million for the district, for all fun, like all work. And right now, I think the proposal you have is about 1.3 beyond our budget, 1.3 million. And so I just want to lay out the context as we go back to caucus, that's where our understanding is of where we're at right now.
Okay, and when we're in caucus, we'll look around and we'll see what some other contracts have settled, in the area and that kind of stuff, so we can have some information to report back, just so you can see where we're at in the ballpark of things and make sure we're all, knowing what's going on. Quick question: have you guys done any? I know it's that time of year. Have you done any admin raises or raises for confidential employees and that kind of stuff? Have you had a chance to do that? And if you did, maybe what percentages those were? If you could look at that while you're in caucus, that might help too. And then we can all bring back our numbers and see what we end up with.
Yeah, and I also want you to recognize that group took a freeze the year before. So you might want to split that over 2 years as you think about that.
Yeah, I don't know any of those numbers. I figure you'll let me know, right? So I just know it's that time of year, right? That July, August time. So, okay, yeah. So we'll take a look at that, and then you'll look at that, and then we'll come back and we'll compare notes.
Sounds good.
All right. Do you want to start with let's call it a half hour and go from there, Jennifer? Mary can text you.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
If you need more time, just text us, or if we do, we'll text each other before 11:45. All right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Carly, are you able to put a note that we're in caucus?
Yeah, I'm working on it right now and we'll share my screen.
Okay. So can I leave this or does that close it out? I need to
No,
make you host, correct?
Yeah, make me host and then you can leave and then I'll stay.
We've been having some technical difficulties in our office, so
I see a
ask
duet.
Olivia and Ryan together.
If you see a computer in the hallway, that did belong to me.
The one that just bounced off the.
So I don't have a computer right now. So I came across the hall.
Okay, I can identify with that. Oh, my morning was that way. Okay.
All right, I think we have everyone back.
Yep.
So I'm going to kind of work from the language piece backwards into it, just because I think through our beginning conversation, we're in agreement to moving the pandemic language conversation to a smaller group with the idea of maybe putting an MOA together, the extra duty salary schedule, working through that, and then the House Bill 2016, being able to continue working on that in a smaller group. So I think, putting that to kind of those smaller groups, then really the next piece is talking about the financials. And so one thing, as I noted, Hobie, you had in recognizing it's a full package, but the shift differential at the 50% or 50 cents, excuse me.
50%?
50 cents. Let me say that again, 50 cents. So I think, we can sort of say, yes, we don't need to probably talk too much more about it, but as we'll make sure it stays with the full package. The other thing is we have continued to put a suggestion about moving a couple ranges to a higher range. And so that is range 4 to range 5, range 5 to range 6. That's our food service staff. Our maintenance one, which is currently on range 7, moving to 8. And then our lead maintenance, which is on 8, moving it to a 9, recognizing, the work that they do and looking at those ranges. And so we continue to have that on, and I will provide you a document that has all of this written out as well, but I just want to make sure.
Thank you.
That. And then when it comes to the overall, the remaining sort of financial, I'm going to have Olivia and Ryan share so they can walk through some of the rationale behind it.
All right.
You want me to go first? You go first. So maybe I'll just go first, and then Olivia will provide the rationale. So one of the questions you asked was about other, like the non-rep group. And so that non-rep group, they received a 3% COLA. And again, they didn't receive anything last year. They didn't receive step or salary increase last year. They were frozen as we moved.
Did they get insurance bump?
No, not last year. They didn't get anything last year.
This year?
$75.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So anyhow, so that was that group. And then so what we did was we went back because there was some confusion about where we were on the 2% and 2.5%. And you probably are still confused by that. So basically where we did land we did end on 2%. However, and that's what you have in your notes, so you can stop looking for 2.5%. You're not going to find it. But what we had talked about is we had met in caucus and talked about if we got more from the state, could we end up at 2.5? So that's where I came with that number was from our conversation, not from our proposal. So what we did is we looked at what the additional dollars coming through to the 9.3 meant for us. And that's what Olivia is going to provide the rationale around. But based on that number, we're going to counter or bring forward a proposal at 3%. So really it's going from 2 to 3 overall, but recognizing that I put out that 2.5 language. So I'm sure that's as clear as mud, but that's basically what happened. And then Olivia is going to share kind of how we got to that.
Thank you.
Okay. And I'm going to go kind of slow just because I'm kind of going to go in chronological order here. So when I look at our adopted budget, so our adopted budget is based on a state school fund allocation of $9.1 billion. When I compare our estimate that was included in our adopted budget document with the most recent estimate that ODE put out on June 24th, which is based on the $9.3 billion allocation. And I look at our state school fund grant on each of those two estimates side by side. The increase in our state school fund grant is about $1.1 million. So if we were to allocate those additional resources proportionately into our budget, the way it was adopted, this is kind of how I came up with this math. So we have a board or a budget parameter that we won't spend more than 85% of our general fund resources on salaries and benefits. So I took the $1.1 million and I multiplied that by 85%. So that's $935,000. That would, in my mind, be an appropriate approximation of how much we would put towards salaries and benefits. When I look at salaries and benefits as a whole, and I separate salaries out from benefits, it's about a 65%, 35% split. So when I look at the whole number, 65% of that really is attributable to salaries, 35% is attributable to benefits. So if I take the 935, multiply that by 65% to go towards salaries, that gets me to about $608,000. When I look at all of our salary costs in our adopted budget, and I look at how that breaks down by object, which also kind of aligns with our classifications. Our classified salaries represent 26% of our total salaries in our budget. So if I take the $608,000 and multiply that by 26%, that gets us to a number of about $160,000. The cost estimate of a 1% COLA is about $140,000. So the COLA, the proposal to increase the COLA by 1% represents a little bit more than those additional resources, but it's a pretty close number.
So again, we were trying to, take the number that we provided before and said this was our top based on the current budget. We've accounted for the additional revenue that is general fund dollars that we can anticipate continuing into the future. And that's what allowed us to make that adjustment in our proposal.
Okay.
We tried to be as kind of clear and methodical as possible in explaining it that way.
Appreciate that and the movement. Is there anything else you guys have, or?
No, did you want me to show my screen just so you can see all of that written out, or just send it to you? What would be helpful at the moment?
If you can just send it to me and Mary, we'll get it to the rest of the team.
Okay.
And did you want to talk about the Juneteenth that you had brought up earlier?
Yeah, we realized we didn't talk about that last time.
Juneteenth.
Yeah, do you want to do that now, or did you want to respond? Because I know you also had conversation.
I mean, probably look at that and then we can probably caucus for a few minutes after.
Okay, so I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with Juneteenth, but it was put into law, House Bill 2168, in case you want to actually look at the full amount, where June 19th is actually going to be named Juneteenth and will be a holiday. So looking at what that does for calendars, we have for our classified staff, we have a range. We have individuals who finish the last day of school, and then we have individuals that work through June. So our proposal is that for those who work after school ends, that it becomes a paid holiday. And so what we'll have to do, to be super clear, is in our holidays, we actually have, based on number of months worked, we can incorporate it into there. I didn't actually write the language up, but that's the idea behind it, is that it would be for sort of that remaining group would be a paid holiday. So we do need to observe it. We don't want to impact individuals, and we want to make sure we honor that day.
If school ended after the 19th, then it would have to be a holiday and that additional time would just be added on. Like, let's say, you know, for some reason we start school late or we run into some unusual thing where our actual school attendance day is on June 19th. You know, it's kind of a weird reading
Yeah,
of it.
I know. And we're actually needing to do something with our licensed staff as well. And I don't want to necessarily discuss that, but I think we're looking at it to be where I want to say it's our 9-month employees that it would be, I guess, a non-contract day, because if school for some reason extended, we would have to hop over that day and then we would plan. For example, weather days would probably be a good example if we ended up having to extend a school year.
The school end this year on the 19th?
No, it was right
Next year?
before it. Yeah.
The 17th.
I mean, this coming year I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, no, the 17th.
The 17th is the last day this coming year. Okay.
So to confirm, kind of in a general statement for classified, anybody that is more than a 180-day calendar has a high likelihood of being impacted by the Juneteenth because they work past the school year.
No, because because we added the training day, some of those days are before, right? So
Right.
It's actually going to be those that are considered 10 months. The way we currently have our contract language, we don't do it by the names of calendars. We do it by 9 months, 10 months type of thing. And so that's where we incorporate it into. So it's really probably going to be our 190-day or 200-day, right? That's going to be the breaking point.
Right. So that's the next step after the 180, is it? Well, okay, right.
So
Conce-
it's
I see what you're saying,
181,
conceptual.
182, 185. Like we have a
Okay,
lot of
well, good.
calendars.
Super fun. Okay.
Okay.
But is there any half days in there? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, come on, Hobie.
So,
Okay.
okay, so maybe it makes sense to, when we're caucusing, maybe you could write out some language of kind of to bit so we can visualize what you're what you're thinking on that.
Yeah.
So we also got some information, if you still want it, on just differing districts around. So, and it's a bit, so strap in. So what I found when I was digging around out there was just to give you an idea of where the places are at. Phoenix Talent did an 85% raise for all, and they increased their insurance by 2.07%. I'm not sure why 0.707 added to that, but it's 2.07%. Sutherland went with a 3% raise. Glide went with a 3% raise. They also increased their insurance both years by looks like about $50. Southland Cobb went 5% raise. McKinsey is a 3% raise and a $50 insurance increase. Port Orford is a 3% with a insurance increase of 50%, or excuse me, now I did it. Insurance increase of $50. Brandon did a 6.6% raise. I say this wrong every time. It's Silaw, I want to say.
Faisla.
Yeah, they did minimum 15% starting wage for everybody, which equated to about a 4% raise. And then $50 to insurance. Cascade has a proposal out right now to go 8% and $50. North Stand AM has a proposal out right now. They're bargaining with me right now. It's 7% and $50. Silver Falls is currently 3.5%, and we're just going through that process to start bargaining with all that there. Central did something really interesting. Nobody starts below $17. They technically have like, I think one, or they have like two, a crossing guard and like, I want to say like a beginning cook or something that is 1640 or 1654, and the other one is 1689, but they just been hiring people at step 2, right? So they can get out of that. So nobody makes less than 17 there. They brought down their HSA. They bumped an extra $50 into that for some of the folks, and then they committed to changing their salary schedules a little bit messed up. It needs some hard lifting and work on that. So they committed when they do their Fulton next year to do that too, to get that squared away. Lincoln County came at it with a different approach. What they did was they did 2%, COLA, but then they gave everybody a 2.5% step, and then they gave everybody longevity language, and then they also brought down their individual deductible payments by $150 a person, and they gave them all a one-time bonus from the ESSER money for $750. So so that's kind of that runs kind of the gambit of what I've been either dealing with or seeing out there. I know there's probably more, but that's what I could get together in that 30 minutes I have. So I just want to give you some kind of a flavor of what's going on in different parts, similar size schools, smaller schools, bigger schools, just trying to give you kind of a rough idea of what's out there. So hopefully that's helpful.
Well, and Hobie, I mean, I recognize some of those are doing high, and, of course, we would have lots of questions. I also have been tracking some of it too, and know several have settled for 2%, 2.5%. So there are some out there that also have done lower than what you shared.
Okay, so yeah, when I looked into some of those kinds of numbers, what I found was they were mid-contract, right? They would bargain, they weren't open this year, right? Does that make sense?
Well, we're
Not
only
either.
financials as well, though. I mean, we're not a full opener either.
No, I'm saying they weren't open at all. Is the ones that I saw.
Oh.
They're multi-year deals.
No, these were actual ones that just settled for 21-22.
Interesting. Do you have some names so I can add to my list?
IMESD, Corbett, Canby, IMESD as well. So
Oh, okay. I could talk to Cindy. She's up. Sydney. She's up there. Okay, cool. Well, that's good to know. So I guess we have even more bigger picture
yeah,
of what's going
there's
on.
I think a huge variation.
Yeah, and like some of them, like one of them did $100 increase their insurance too, right? So they settled for less, and I was like, what? So there's some different things going on out there, how people were spending the money. But I wanted to at least give you what I looked up while we were in our caucus. So
Yeah.
So I think the prudent thing would be do, since we've agreed those small work groups for those other two things, is what I'll do is when we come back with our proposal or whatnot, I will show those being moved to a subgroup, so a mini package, if you will, and I'll just have on there the things that we're still talking about, and then hopefully that'll make it a little easier to get through too.
So one thing, just listening to both you, Hobie, and Jennifer share some other districts, kind of keeping in mind that graphic we shared last time, which showed our comparative districts. And I just didn't hear them named in that group. But again, our goal is to look at those districts and stay slightly ahead of them. And so we're hopeful that this allows us to continue to do that with the proposal we have out there. So just again, just additional context.
Yeah, no, and that I understand what you're saying there. I put out an email to all the other reps, and this is what I got back in a half hour. So
yeah, that's actually pretty good for half an hour of that.
Yeah,
email.
They must all be on coffee break right now. I didn't know we had that in our contract because they got back to me pretty quick.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Why don't we go with why don't you give us till 1? If we get back sooner or we get back later, we'll text you. Okay, Jennifer?
We actually have another meeting at 1, so we have a hard stop on our end.
Okay, let's call it 12:45 then.
Okay.
That work? All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Where are you now, Ryan? You look in a different spot.
You're muted.
Oh, he's still in Olivia's office.
Is
If
he?
you're just seeing a different angle.
Okay. Like he's traveling the DO today. Who's missing? Is everybody?
Well, Olivia's in the office with Ryan.
Okay.
You're on speaker, so she can hear you. How's that?
There you go. So we have a counter for you, and we'll email this out to you, Jennifer, after we go through it here. Appreciate the movement on your part last time. So the stuff highlighted in yellow is stuff that we either we're agreeing in concept, or we're putting, agreeing to do something different with it. So the first thing is the wage raise for the shift differential. I think we're pretty well agreed to that. I know it's part of the package, and it's done when it's all done. We've come down from $2 to $1 for our ask. Did you want to talk about that, Mary, real quick?
I just think we're looking at for now, and then come next July, and what's being offered around the district to employees we're competing with at those levels. And we just see that this would help the district down the road and help us, of course, our people down the road. But it seems close to what would bring them into the lowest wage, into the 14s. And I see the state, I imagine in my mind, is going to continue to raise the minimum wage till it does get it up to the 15, and who knows. So this was just what we saw as a good compromise.
Yeah, and I think just kind of drafting off that, I think that if we did this in combination with the range movements that you guys are talking about, the 4 to 5, 5 to 6, that stuff, I think it gets us to that range where we have a buffer between that minimum wage and like we used to, not the same level, but we would have a reasonable buffer between that minimum wage and these jobs, which we can help attract people to these jobs too. So that's why we've included here, and this is just very general. I know you sent us the write-up, so we would obviously use that, but just we would agree with those range movements from July 1st. And then this is the coaches piece. The pandemic language moved to this. I'm going to call it a small package instead of this is the big package. I'm just so differential, so I don't lose it on the 1,000 of different things on my desktop here. And then we appreciate the movement you did up here. So kind of talking about what Ryan was saying about people using their money where they want to make it work the best for them. We came forward with this language here. This would allow people to fund those shortfalls created by the state redirecting and the people, because as people go forward, more and more people will fall into this hole, right? So this will allow all employees to basically just cash out what they have left and put it into a TSA, cash it out and put in TSA, whichever they want to do. So they can take that money, those monies, their own monies that they've already earned in these different comp, personal days of vacation, and put it towards their retirement if they don't use it. It allow them to basically self-fund those things. So they could do that, or take the money out and go out and get an outside group that if they want to, maybe a Roth or something. This would give them some way to do that. And we felt that was pretty low cost option for the district, since you already have TSA plans and things like that set up. So we came back with this language for that reason. And obviously from what we were offering, the 75/50 or whatever, that's going to be substantial savings for the district. And then the language down here, we moved to the work group bundle for the 2016 that luckily just a few of us get to work on. So that's the essence of our proposal. Is there questions about it? I will email it to Ryan and Jennifer right here.
I guess my question is about your PERS redirect, and I understand you're trying to maybe encourage and help individuals be saving for retirement, which is always great.
Right.
But they can technically do this on their own anyway. So this actually is a lot of work on the behind the scenes end. When you think about the number of employees we have, and every individual may want to do something different or a portion, that I'm just curious, why not just encourage members to do that on their own, or to think about it in that way when they're paid out in June?
So yeah, and that's a fair point. And I think that why we'd like to have some language in the contracts, because a lot of people, you and I know this, a lot of people that are novices, they look at contracts, they look at certain sections, wages, retirement, and just having something in there, like we did this in Dallas, and it's actually been very helpful. They have to initiate it. So they have to come to you and say, hey, I want to do this district by the way this language is written. But it gives them the ability, the ability to find that kind of in line with their benefits, so they can think about, maybe, I have those 2 days I didn't use. Maybe I do want to cash that into here because I do want to retire one day and be able to afford it, right? And that's the idea behind the language. If you have some better phraseology here, I'm happy to look at that. Anything you guys want to put towards that. I tried to make it as just clean, clear and cut. It's basically the language that's in the Dallas agreement that we agreed to. But I just want people to be able to see it so that they can, say, okay, yeah, I can do that. I know that, right? Versus looking in maybe another section that talks specifically about TSAs, and then more of a technical discussion in that area about how they work and all this stuff. Just saying, if you want to save for retirement, you can. That's the idea of this language. That's it. I mean, it's, there wouldn't even be like, you couldn't even grieve it, because it just tells you that this is something you can do. I guess if you said, no, they can't use a TSA, I guess you probably it's over that. But I can't imagine you doing that since you've had them forever. But this just gets people when they look in those sections, that extra piece to help them. Hey, yeah, we can put this towards retirement if we have days left at the end of the year. That's the intent. So if you have a better way to write it or word it, please share with me. This is actually pretty much the same language that the district came with in Dallas and gave to me. Is slightly tweaked because they have some difference of personal days up there. But that's the idea. So if you have a better way of writing it that's clearer or better, just make sure people are getting that information. I'm happy to look at that. We are not married to the exact language.
Okay.
So Hobie, can I ask you, just for me?
Yeah.
So what it basically is you're wanting to add something to the contract so that people know this is something they can do. And wasn't this all brought up because of the way they're changing the amount that was put into PERS and using some of it towards that insurance bit? But I mean, I don't know if people know that that's why we're even mentioning this. Does that need to be
that's
in
true.
there?
I keep forgetting we have an audience. That's a great point, Mary. Yeah, the PERS redirect, for folks that are not familiar, they might be watching, is the state, in order to balance their books with the retirement system. If you're a tier 1, tier 2, which means you were hired before August of 2003, you have 2.5% of your monies being redirected from that the district pays on your behalf to this secondary account called a stabilization fund. If you're hired after that, it's 0.75%. And the idea is that someday, I keep hearing decades in the future, they might stabilize, and then, maybe you'll get that money back. But if you plan to retire not decades away from now, then, you don't get the immediate benefit of it. Shows in your account that you only got 4.5%, or you got 0.75 less, right? So that affects your final checks when you go to retire. They base it on the last 3 years of your income. So with that drop, if you're not self-paying that, or you're not offsetting it, you will get less for the rest of your life. So that's what we're trying to address here.
Okay.
Is that better, Mary?
Yes. Okay. I guess do we have another meeting scheduled?
No, that's what I was just going to say. I
So
think
we can get it
actually-
in because you
that's
guys have to
probably-
leave. Okay.
So we may, I know for us, August is very full, so I'm a little worried about finding time, but we certainly will.
Okay, good. Hobie, can you take this off so I can access my calendar?
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you.
I thought we were done. Jeez.
Oh, it's unfortunately not that easy, Hobie.
Yeah. Well, I guess what would we do if it was, right?
Close. Okay.
All right, so if we look out to, when is registration for schools, Marcy?
Sorry, we're sending out the registrar letters tomorrow. So we'll be kind of taking the stuff in when we hit Monday the 16th or Monday the 17th, whatever that is there. That's when we're going to have to start making that reach out to all the non-responding families. So it'll kick up a notch there.
I think she's thinking like the high schools and them too. It's the 25th,
I was answering for
26th. Yeah.
Okay. I just knew there were probably a few days we need to make sure that we're avoiding.
Mhm.
Not gonna lie, if we could do it before the 17th, it would be kind of cool. Because we're all gonna start
Hmm.
fast forwarding.
I know, I'm just worried about calendars. I know we have no more time this week. So if we look at the week of the 9th,
I have the 11th, 12th, and 13th wide open.
We're potentially doing interviews on the 11th and 13th, but the 12th, I'm a happy girl. I can do 12th easily.
can't do the
Yeah.
12th, I'm completely booked. What about the afternoon of the 10th?
I have
I
that
will
open.
be in Roseburg all day, bargaining down there.
We've got a retreat.
All
What
right,
about-
well,
What about late on like the 11th or 13th, more like a 4 o'clock?
I can't at all on the 13th and the 11th. I don't think I have flexibility.
16th, 17th.
Look at the next week.
How about like an 8 a.m.? Just get it off and done.
About a 6 a.m. I don't care.
Hey,
No, I do. No.
Oh, okay, sorry. Sorry.
let's not go super crazy.
That's the benefit of being insomniac. You get more hours out of the day.
Yeah.
What about the afternoon of the 16th? Is that a possibility for folks?
Yeah, I'm available after 1 o'clock or
I'm
travel
available.
time 1:30.
Hmm.
I am bargaining in Silver Falls. I apologize.
Oh, come on, Hobie.
I'm
Like
teaching.
everybody wants their contracts done or something. I don't know.
I know.
Great, so in all honesty, then we're looking at the following week.
I mean, that's okay for me because I don't, and probably for most of us because we
How
don't
about the
have a,
24th? Is that pretty wide open? I know the 25th, 26th is registration.
yeah, but I mean, I don't think that affects a lot of
I
us.
can do the 24th. I can do that.
Can't do that.
What about the
Afternoon
20th?
of the 25th?
25th, I can, yeah.
Yeah, I'm open.
Mary,
I'm open.
the new teacher academy thing, that afternoon of the 25th is when their teachers are here. My principal is going to be at the Joe Baylor conference, so I'll be the point of contact for the teachers coming.
Oh, dear Jesus. Okay.
So what you cut out at the end there? What'd you say? You
The
can
new
or can't do
teacher
it?
academy, the teachers are all coming on site. Yeah, afternoon.
What time do they leave? Are they done at 3? Are they done at,
I show down that I'm kind of with them from 1:30 to 4, or I'm available to them from 1:30 to 4. Isn't that the timing, Jennifer, around the new teacher?
Yeah, they're until 4. Okay, the 26th in the afternoon, is that an option?
It is for me.
Yep.
It is for me.
Ryan
Yes.
and Olivia,
That will work.
the 26th. So what if we do a 2 to 4?
Sure.
Sure.
Sounds good.
Okay, that's amazing. We found it.
oh my God.
Lock it in, seriously.
Well, we haven't even got to the fun part yet, Jennifer.
Oh,
You,
God.
me, and Ryan and Mary got to do the subgroup.
And I'll have to send you some dates
Mhm.
for that. And I think we actually can do a shorter window, hopefully, because we're pretty.
I'm supposed to
Well,
be in a
it's-
silk scheduling meeting right now, so I have to
Okay.
go.
All right.
see you
Thanks,
later.
Marcy.
With this 4 of us, it'll probably be a little easier to get it, the dates together.
And we
I
don't
think,
need a
too.
zillion amount of hours either.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, do we
Okay.
want to try and do one more for bargaining since it was hard enough on this?
Well, how's your September looking? Because that's where you're at, right?
Yeah, I mean, we start school, so we would have to do later in the day
That's a good idea.
Sure. What day you want?
and probably not the first week of school.
Okay. So,
So we're looking at the week of the 13th.
okay. Yeah, I
Uh,
might actually take my first vacation ever week, that Labor Day week. So
Oh,
let's try not to do it that time.
How about the afternoon of the 15th?
Yeah, I'm wide open on that day.
You mean like after like at 3
3
or?
to 5 or something?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm open at 3, so
Okay.
Okay.
starting at 3.
3 to 5. Okay, I will get, we'll get invites out for those 2 days. Hobie and Mary, I will send you some options sometime later this week for our other meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And hopefully then we can come up with something there.
Yeah,
Okay,
it was
sounds
just
good.
us two and you and Ryan. I think we can probably narrow that down a little bit, and I'm hoping we don't hour, 2 hours tops for all of that. We can be done. I'm hoping.
Okay.
All
All
right,
right,
perfect.
sounds good.
All right, thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
bye.
Bye.